Chapter 70 Sword Bone Tower Combination, 3000 words. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the darkened streets of Tiandou City, the only illumination came from soul rings and the radiant 7 treasures glazed pagoda held by Ning Fengzhi. 300,000-year soul rings. Ning Fengzhi exclaimed, instantly startled by the terrifying configuration. A flicker of regret crossed his mind for getting involved. Fengzhi, get back. Sword Douluo flashed in front of Ning Fengzhi, protecting him with the 7-kill sword, his expression extremely grim. Sword Douluo Qianxunji, you're not worthy of my sword. Qianrenhan beckoned, and a withered tree nearby snapped, a 3-foot-long, bare branch flying into his hand. A branch is enough to deal with you. Sword Douluo Qianxunji, a level 96 powerhouse wielding the 7-kill sword. Before the fusion of man and sword, not even the level 96 Qianxunji could win. He even died alongside Qianxunji. So arrogant. Let's see how good your swordsmanship really is. Fengzhi, hold back. Sword Douluo, known for his composure, was enraged by Qianrenhan's words. Sword cultivators were typically proud, and he was no exception. Being dismissed by a junior wielding only a branch was insulting. His pride as a swordsman demanded he win this duel without Ning Fengzhi's help. The crimson-black aura radiating from Qianrenhan easily overwhelmed Sword Douluo. The ghostly white soul pressure emanating from his body surged toward Sword Douluo and Ning Fengzhi. Sword Douluo frowned. His terrifying sword energy exploded, and he swung the 7-kill sword in a blinding display, unleashing waves of white killing intent that tore through Qianrenhan's soul pressure. The branch in Qianrenhan's hand trembled. He swung it instantly, with the force of an indestructible blade, deflecting Sword Douluo's sword energy effortlessly, leaving the bark untouched. Sword intent. You've actually grasped sword intent, and at such a level. Sword Douluo's eyes widened in shock. His extensive knowledge told him that a branch could only become as hard, and as deadly, as a divine weapon if one understood the meaning of the sword. Qianrenhan didn't waste words. His eyes turned scarlet, and the ghostly white murderous aura erupted completely. The branch became a long sword shrouded in white murderous intent. He slashed out, the chilling aura freezing the surrounding withered trees. That murderous aura, the realm of the god of death. No, just a burst of it. Sword Douluo reacted immediately. His 5th soul ring lit up. 5th soul skill, powerful in all directions, that the 7-kill sword in Sword Douluo's hand multiplied into 5. His body was enveloped in a halo of dark blue sword energy. The 5 7-kill swords hurtled towards Qianrenhan's sword energy, a deafening explosion shook the area. The street cracked like a spiderweb. Surrounding houses were damaged by the shockwaves. The powerful sword energy shattered Qianrenhan's murderous blade, but fragments still broke through Sword Douluo's defenses, leaving bloody marks on his body, and energy ripples slammed into him. Sword Douluo staggered back, spitting blood, while Qianrenhan stood firm. The black soul power absorbed the soul power ripples around him, and the strong wind whipped his hair. Your sword is mediocre, like the old man's. Qianrenhan didn't press his advantage or launch another attack. He simply waved the branch lightly, unleashing a series of white sword energies. Each strike had only a third of the power of the previous one. Sword Douluo pushed Ning Fengzhi aside. He held the 7-kill sword and struggled to parry. Qianrenhan's sword energies weren't particularly fast, but the range was too close to use his sword techniques or soul skills. Forced to rely solely on the 7-kill sword to absorb the energies, Sword Douluo's body reeled. His arms grew numb, and he kept retreating. Each step cracked the bluestone street beneath him. Brothers so awesome, Qianrenxue, watching from a distance, dared not blink. That was Sword Douluo Qianxunji, famous for his swordsmanship. The world's greatest swordsman, beaten back by her brother with a tree branch. Even her invincible grandfather couldn't do that. The terrifying energy fluctuations in Tiandou City drew the attention of every powerful figure in and around the city. Outside Tiandou City, in his sect, Douluo, guarding the 7 treasures glazed sect, frowned at the energy fluctuations. Such strong energy. It's the old swordsman, fighting someone in Tiandou city. Douluo instructed an elder to carefully guard the 7 treasures glazed sect. He rushed towards Tiandou city, when Sword Douluo was 30 meters from Ning Fengzhi, his arms near complete numbness, a transparent ring-shaped domain spread from the 7-kill sword. The 30-meter diameter ring was forest blue. When Qianrenhan's crimson sword energy entered the field, the forest blue soul power transformed into countless miniature sword energies, shattering the crimson energy. 7-kill domain. Qianrenhan said calmly, the 7-kill domain, a talent that comes with the 7-kill sword, had a diameter of 30 meters. Within, everyone's attack, defense, and speed were reduced by 70%. 8th soul skill, 7 kills will cause thunder, 1 sword will cut through the sky, as the saying goes, the best defense is a good offense. After creating an opening, Sword Douluo's 8th soul ring lit up and he used his ultimate move, Sword Douluo leaped, his sword and surrounding sword energy turning black. Behind him emerged a half-length black shadow with 4 arms and burning scarlet eyes. The shadow exuded a devouring ferocity. The 4 arms waved simultaneously, unleashing 4 sword energies that could shatter everything. The energies gathered irregularly. Augmented by the 7-kill domain, they broke through air, light, and space. Kill. Qianrenhan narrowed his eyes, and his murderous aura reached its peak, creating a ghostly white field to clash with the 7-kill domain. Sword Douluo was shocked. Qianrenhan's murderous aura nearly formed a physical field. What had Qianrenhan been doing to accumulate so much murderous intent? The more Sword Douluo thought, the more worried he became. He'd used nearly 80% of his power and deployed his domain, but Qianrenhan had shown barely any of his strength. The overwhelming murderous aura converged on the branch. The surrounding trees thawed. The branch transformed into a 3-meter giant sword of pure murderous intent, slashing at Sword Douluo's black sword energy. Boom. A massive explosion erupted, sending smoke, dust, and rocks flying. Sword Douluo's 8th soul skill gouged out 4 symmetrical ravines in front of and behind Qianrenhan. At the center, where Qianrenhan stood, the branch was broken in 2, and his right sleeve was torn, revealing smooth, slender woman's arm. Sword Douluo frowned. His 8th soul skill hadn't harmed Qianrenhan, just torn the clothes. Qianrenhan threw away the broken branch. 5 pairs of jet-black wings spread from his back. He raised his blood-red eyes and looked down at Sword Douluo. A corner of his mouth tilted up. Time for me to get serious. The fallen angel's wings beat behind Qianrenhan, and a deeper black soul power surged. He eroded Sword Douluo's 7-kill domain with soul power alone, without needing a domain of his own. Sword Douluo regretted provoking Qianrenhan, a freak whose soul ring configuration, sword understanding, and martial spirit quality were all unmatched. How could he possibly win? But as a sword cultivator, he couldn't retreat, or his sword heart would be destroyed, halting his cultivation and crippling his combat strength. At that moment, a vortex appeared, and a dark, ferocious bone dragon made of bones emerged, appearing beside Sword Douluo. Old swordsman. Old bones, glad you could make it. Sword Douluo looked at Bone Douluo's arrival with relief. He's Qianrenhan. He's alive. Bone Douluo was shocked to see Qianrenhan resurrected as a fallen angel. Sword Douluo said seriously, Old bones, don't let your guard down. Look at Qianrenhan's soul rings. His current strength far exceeds my imagination. 300,000-year soul rings, a 9-ring title Douluo. Bone Douluo said in horror. Simultaneously, an 8-meter-tall 7-treasure glazed pagoda martial soul shimmered with light behind Sword and Bone Douluo. Ning Fengzhi had acted, using his martial soul true body. With Bone Douluo's arrival, his confidence returned. The giant sword flies across the sky, the human sword merges into one. Sword Douluo shone with light, transforming into a 3-meter-high, half-meter-wide giant sword. Qianrenhan surveyed the scene, a sword, a bone, and a brightly shining 7 treasures glazed pagoda. He laughed, recalling his time in the Spirit Hall, when he could barely manage a couple of blows against the level 96 Grandmaster severely wounding him, and then crippling Bibi Dong, who was at the peak, and now, he faced a pair of friends, the level 95 Bone Douluo and the level 96 Sword Douluo. With the ultimate support of the 7 treasure glazed pagoda, their combined strength wouldn't be weaker than Bibi Dong and Qianxunji fighting together. Let's see, there are rumors that when sword meets bone and the 7 treasures glazed sect master appears, invincible light will bloom. Qianrenhan said calmly, holding the dark magic sword, P.S. 5,000 words, thanks to the book friend, I love Yi Lingling, for the reward of 15,000 reading coins. This loyal fan and boss of Yi Lingling strongly hopes that the author will add Yi Lingling as a female supporting character. If she is not the heroine, she will just use it as a decoration. Readers, please chime in. Chapter 71 Destroying Sword Douluo Sword Heart. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Old sword guy, this Qianrenhan, is he really that tough? Bone Douluo still wasn't buying it. Qianrenhan was only at level 93. That's 3 levels behind Sword Douluo. And after level 95, you hit a whole new level of power with each breakthrough. 100,000-year soul ring can't even make up that kind of difference. He didn't realize Ning Fengzhi wasn't helping Sword Douluo out, so he figured those 3 levels were like, maybe 200,000-year rings difference. And with Ning Fengzhi boosting him, it shouldn't be that huge a gap. 4th soul skill, Bone Prison. It's about power and speed, that's all. 2 beams of wild light landed on Bone Douluo. Figuring he could tank it, he wanted to see what he was dealing with. His 4th soul ring lit up. The ground around him cracked, and a ton of spiked skeletons shot up like prison bars, all aimed right at Qianrenhan. Not really in the mood to play around anymore. Fallen Angel True Form. Fallen Angel's Domain, Qianrenhan's 7th soul ring flared, and a dark red field blasted outwards, covering Qian Gunning and everyone else. The Fallen Angel's Domain instantly shattered Sword Douluo's 7-kill domain, and the intense killing aura turned into sharp blades, crushing every bone spur coming his way. The domain tore through the soul skill like it was nothing. Feeling the insane suppression of the domain, and the dampening effect on his spirit from the source of the dark system, Bone Douluo finally understood just how dangerous Qianrenhan was. A horrible scream ripped through the air. Fengzhi! Fengzhi! Sword and Bone Douluo shouted at the same time, looking toward Ning Fengzhi. But with their power, they could only see blood-red darkness. Even when they put all their spiritual power into it, it was suppressed, and the 7-treasure glazed tile tower couldn't cut through it to help them. Qianrenhan suddenly appeared in front of the Sword and Bone Douluo, looking down at them like a king. I control this domain, he said coldly. A pampered support-type soul master with 0 combat skills dared to step into my territory. The invisible blades of murderous aura will make him feel 1,000 needles piercing him. Without Ning Fengzhi backing you up, let's see what you can do. Old sword guy, we gotta break this field now. Fengzhi's just a support guy. He's in danger if he's stuck in here. Bone Douluo yelled, clapping his hands together. His 7th soul ring lit up, then his 9th. Countless black bones appeared around him, locking together. 7th soul skill, Bone Dragon True Body. Bone Dragon, unleash your fury. 9th soul skill, Divine Bone Armor, Heavy Assault. Bone Douluo crossed his arms, and more bones shot up around him. They compressed, shifted, and formed into a massive bone dragon, 15 feet tall and 30 feet long. He stood on top of it, and the whole thing radiated a deep black soul power. The bone dragon roared and flapped its wings, charging toward Qianrenhan. My body is a blade. 13 strings in my cup, half a lifetime in storms, all in one sword. Sword Douluo was surrounded by pure black sword energy. He swung the 7-kill sword, unleashing 13 lines of pure black sword energy at Qianrenhan. Sword Douluo, your swordplay's gone soft. All those years living it up in the Qibao glazed tile sect, bullying Bone Douluo and trying to prove yourself, have dulled your edge. You're embarrassing your father and grandfather. Level 97 Chen Jianjun challenging Level 99 Qian Douluo. Level 98 Chen Sun challenging Level 99 Tang Chen. Level 96 Chen Xian fighting Level 95 Ancient Banyan Trees. Qianrenhan swung the Dark Demon Sword, gathering all the pure killing intent into it. The Dark Holy Sword turned blood red with the power, and then he unleashed a blood-red slash. It cut through all 13 of Sword Douluo's attacks, then kept going, heading right for Sword Douluo. Anyone else would have dodged or defended, but Sword Douluo was a sword maniac. He froze, like he'd turned into a stick. He stared at the incoming blood-red energy, his eyes filled with a crazed obsession. This was the true way of the sword. Old sword guy, Bone Douluo jumped in front of Sword Douluo, taking the hit, bang, a quarter of the bone dragon's body was nearly sliced off with that one strike. Bone fragments flew, and Bone Douluo coughed up a mouthful of blood, badly wounded. Bone Douluo's martial spirit was a bone dragon. This bone dragon was its true form, powered up by the 9th soul skill, making its defense insane. But to split the whole bone dragon was like destroying the martial spirit, and Bone Douluo might not survive it. Spitting blood, Bone Douluo yelled at Sword Douluo, "Old sword guy, you lost your mind. We're fighting here." Snapping out of it, Sword Douluo's head cleared. But he had almost broken through level 97. Now was all the worse. Was Qianrenhan even going to give him a chance? Second soul skill, Angel Blood Eyes. Qianrenhan's second soul ring lit up, his eyes glowing blood red. He stared at Bone Douluo. Bone Douluo's face went blank, and his mind was sucked into another place. Here, he was just a little bone dragon, facing a fallen angel 100 times bigger, with a dark body and 10 wings. The fallen angel spirit was good at controlling the fallen in the killing city because they were full of dark thoughts, barely human. Bone Douluo wasn't evil enough to control, so Qianrenhan had to use his soul skill to trigger the bone dragon's martial spirit and make the evil spirit kneel to the ultimate evil ancestral fallen angel. Of course, the power gap had to be close enough, because Angel Blood Eyes drained a ton of mental energy. If Bone Douluo was too powerful, Qianrenhan would just waste his energy. Qianrenhan said coldly, "Kneel." Just like that, Bone Douluo deactivated his martial spirit, his face blank. Ignoring the bloody wound on his chest, he knelt down without resisting. "Old bones. What's wrong? Old bones." Sword Douluo rushed over and pushed Bone Douluo. He stared at Bone Douluo's blank face and roared, "Qianrenhan, what did you do to Old Bones? Let him pay his respects to his ancestors." Qianrenhan meant the fallen angel behind him. Of course, Sword Douluo cursed, "That's crazy." Qianrenhan just smiled. "Sword Douluo Qianxunji, you know how important Sword Heart is to a sword cultivator, right? What are you planning?" Sword Douluo frowned. The Sword Heart was like a sword cultivator's second life. If it broke, there's no more increasing your power. You may even become weaker. Qianrenhan replied, "I'm going to show you the real way of the sword. In return, I'm going to take your Sword Heart." Chapter 72 Fan Feining Fengzhi, 2 billion gold soul coins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qianrenhan retrieved the fallen angel realm, and the crimson long sword on his forehead blazed with bloody light, filling the space around Sword Douluo. This crimson domain pulsed with blades, neatly arranged, 3-foot-long swords forming a vortex of death. The sharp edge sheathed, the law of truth coldly observed, murderous intent a blade strangling all falsehoods, the realm of false Azura. This pseudo-Azura realm, a drastically weakened version of the Azura God King's domain, was still potent enough to shatter Sword Douluo's Sword Heart. Within this domain, only Bo Saishi at sea or Tang Chen, willing to sacrifice everything by detonating all 9 rings of the Great Sumra Hammer, could possibly defeat Qianrenhan. Not even Tiandou could stop him. This was the source of his confidence in killing Bibi Dong. 30 seconds later, the Azura realm dissipated, leaving Qianrenhan noticeably pale. This wasn't due to depleted soul power, but mental exhaustion. Each use of angel blood eyes against an equal-level soul master drained nearly a third of his mental energy. Furthermore, the longer he controlled someone and the more people he controlled, the faster his mental reserves diminished. After controlling Bone Douluo for an extended period, Qianrenhan had already used up almost half of his mental power. Sword DouluoDalu, after his ordeal in the realm of Pseudo-Azura, was listless, his eyes vacant, as if he'd lost all purpose. His once smooth, rosy complexion aged visibly before everyone's eyes, his sword heartbroken. Sword Douluo, despite retaining his level 96 cultivation, was a shadow of his former self. Even a level 96 snake spear Douluo could now challenge him. Uncle Jian, Uncle Bone, what's wrong? What happened to you? Battered by the fallen angel realm's murderous aura, Ning Fengzhi's elegant robes were now tattered rags, his once immaculate hair a tangled mess, his eyes bloodshot. He'd lost all his former sophistication, resembling someone who'd spent days living on the streets. Only Ning Fengzhi looked relatively neat and tidy. He rushed to Sword and Bone Douluo, his voice filled with panic. Snake Spear, Agouti, and Qianrenxue appeared behind Qianrenhan, their faces etched with shock. The young master had single-handedly defeated the supposedly invincible sword-boning trio of the Soul Master world, turning one into a beggar and the other two into mindless shells. Qianrenhan stated calmly, Ning Fengzhi, I'll let them go back in one piece. 1 billion gold soul coins for each of them, plus the distraction control skill. You have 3 days to gather the money and the skill. Deliver it to the hotel where I'm staying. Otherwise, I'll return them to you, headless. Qianrenhan, does Spirit Hall want all-out war with the 7 treasure glazed sect? Don't forget the upper 3 sects share a common bond. Ning Fengzhi spat. 2 billion gold soul coins. This would wipe out the accumulated wealth of generations of the 7 treasure glazed sect. And it might not even be enough, they'd have to sell off their assets. Slap, star, Qianrenhan backhanded Ning Fengzhi across the face. Ah! Ning Fengzhi screamed as he went flying, sprawling on the ground, his crutches skittering away. Learn your place before you speak to me. Without Sword and Bone Douluo, you, Ning Fengzhi, and the 7 treasure glazed sect are nothing. Drag them away. Qianrenhan turned and left, intending to find a hotel to recover his mental strength while waiting for Ning Fengzhi to deliver the ransom. Snake Spear and Agouti moved swiftly to suppress Sword and Bone Douluo's cultivations, preparing to carry them off. I said drag them, Qianrenhan corrected calmly, then dismissed his martial spirit. His face paled further. To maintain his imposing persona as the young master of the Spirit Hall, he had held off on dismissing his martial spirit until Snake Spear and Agouti sealed Sword and Bone Douluo's soul power. He had been using his second martial soul to control Bone Douluo, which was draining the last of his mental strength. Now, all he wanted was to find a place to sleep. Bone Douluo, disoriented and now regaining his senses, stared at Agouti Douluo tying him up with ropes. Agouti, what are you doing? Why can't I use my cultivation? Soon, Sword and Bone Douluo were bound like caterpillars and tossed to the ground. Snake Spear grabbed a rope, his heart racing with excitement as he dragged the renowned Sword Douluo across the ground like a sack of goods. This was exhilarating. Uncle Sword, Uncle Bone. Ning Fengzhi watched in anguish as Sword and Bone Douluo were dragged away, the veins throbbing on his forehead, but Ning Fengzhi, as a sect leader, quickly regained his composure. Impatience and anger were useless. He had to find someone to rescue Sword and Bone Douluo. But who? The Clear Sky School was too far away, and the current sect leader, Tang Xiao, a level 95 titled Douluo but who didn't have the strength of Uncle Jian. Yu Yuanjin, the old dragon of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon School, was out of the question. Wait, the Heaven Do royal family. I'll ask them for help. Ning Fengzhi had an idea and rushed toward the Heaven Do palace, wasting no time to return to the 7 treasure glazed sect, which was outside Heaven Do city with no one to protect him. He was afraid of being assassinated or robbed. The strength ranking of Douluo continent, according to the perception of the Soul Master world, there are 2 countries, 1 palace, 3 upper sects, and 4 lower sections. The two countries are naturally the Tiandou Empire and the Star Luo Empire. At this time, almost all the forces in the continent believe that the two empires' millions of troops are stronger than the Spirit Hall with up to 6 or 7 titled Douluo. However, the gap between the two sides is not big. The first hall is naturally the Wuhun Hall, the 3 upper sects are the upper 3 sects, and the 4th lower sects are the lower 4th sections. In the Heavendou Palace, Emperor Shui, who had not been poisoned by any poison and was in the normal state of energy for a middle-aged man, heard the tragic situation of Ning Fengzhi. Veins popped up on his forehead, and he was almost crushed by the armrest. This is outrageous. What does Spirit Hall think it's doing? They kill an earl's son without a second thought, and now they're kidnapping Sword and Bone Douluo, demanding 2 billion gold soul coins. Whose territory is this, anyway? Shui was livid. Most of the 7 treasure-glazed sects' 2 billion gold soul coins were earned from the Heavendou Empire. How could he allow the Spirit Hall to simply take it all away? Ning Fengzhi, now dressed in clean clothes, clutched his cane and bowed before Emperor Shui, pleading for help in rescuing Sword and Bone Douluo. Because who knew if Qianrenhan would return a Sword and Bone Douluo whose cultivation had been ruined? Then the 7 treasure-glazed sect would truly be doomed. Shui raised his hand and called, Luo Chuan. Crown Prince Shui Luo Chuan stepped forward. Father. Emperor Shui said gravely, go to the Grand Garrison and mobilize 400,000 Heavendou Empire troops. Surround the hotel where the Spirit Hall thugs are staying and demand they release Sword and Bone Douluo. Otherwise, the Heavendou Empire will be forced to take drastic measures. A titled Douluo risked death if surrounded by 100,000 Heavendou Empire troops. 400,000 troops surrounding 3 titled Douluo. Once Sword and Bone Douluo were rescued, they would have 2 titled Douluo plus 400,000 troops on their side. Shui believed he was being extremely cautious in dealing with the 3 titled Douluo from the Spirit Hall. Chapter 73 A sword arrives at the Imperial Palace of Tiandou Empire. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Do as my father says. Shui Luochuan smiled at Ning Fengzhi. Don't worry, sect leader Ning. The 7 treasure glazed tile school is a friend of our Tiandou royal family. We won't pull a stunt like the Spirit Hall. Just sit tight, good news is coming. Thank you, Your Highness, Ning Fengzhi said, clasping his fists, finally breathing a sigh of relief. 3 hours later, in a 5-star luxury hotel in Tiandou City, Qianrenhan, finally recharged, emerged from his room. Qianrenxue, however, was still in seclusion, absorbing the 10-headed blazing sun snake's inner elixir. With only 3 days to make amends to the 7 treasure glazed tile school, she needed to absorb that elixir, evolving the fire attribute of her angel spirit. Her staying here would have been a waste. Qianrenhan, what happened to Qianrenxue? Bone Douluo knelt, his hands and legs still bound, covered in dust from being dragged around. Sword Douluo was in the same state, covered in dust, his eyes glazed over, his spirit seemingly drained. Luckily, Tiandou city streets were paved with smooth bluestone, preventing too much friction. Otherwise, Sword and Bone Douluo would have looked like Ning Fengzhi after visiting the fallen angel realm. Qianrenhan glanced at Bone Douluo, walked lazily to the sofa, and sat down. What's the situation? He asked. Snake Spear Douluo materialized instantly, kneeling on one knee. Young master, the Tiandou royal family just cleared the area. Everyone's gone, hotel staff, residents, everyone but us. Looks like the Tiandou royal family wants to play hero. I might as well give them a warning. It'll make it easier for me to push through my policies once I'm in charge. Qianrenhan smirked, looking towards Tiandou City. Ning Fengzhi's visit to his fallen angel realm had left lingering traces of murderous aura. If he guessed right, that aura would be around Shui. Moments later, the sound of marching boots echoed outside the hotel. The 4 deserted streets were surrounded by ranks of heavily armed Tiandou Empire soldiers in armor, spears in hand. The surrounding rooftops were also swarming with Tiandou Empire troops. And in the air, More soldiers, equipped with wings, patrolled with spears. These flying soldiers also wielded iron chains crafted from special materials capable of suppressing a spirit master's spirit power. Once entangled, the affected limb would be unable to channel spirit power. Even a powerful title Douluo would be rendered helpless. These flying soldiers weren't spirit masters but elite Tiandou royal knights, outfitted with top-tier gear allowing them to fly and engage in aerial combat. Just like spirit masters, Qianrenhan didn't understand how the equipment worked. He only knew that the spirit hall spirit masters had flying swords on their feet, while the empire soldiers had wings. At the hotel entrance stood Crown Prince Xiao Wu, dressed in a black satin robe with gold trim, embroidered with dragons, wide sleeves adorned with dark cloud patterns, and secured with a moon-white waistband. His short hair, held back by a plain jade hairpin, gave him a sharp, capable look. Holding a megaphone, he said calmly, "Friends from Spirit Hall, young Master Qian, I am Xiao Wu, Crown Prince of the Tiandou Empire. Can we talk?" "Young Master." Snake Spear Douluo's expression remained unchanged. The hotel was completely surrounded. Alone, he would surely die. But his good brother, Douluo, had said, "I regard these 400,000 troops as dirt. Step back a bit, you're blocking the road. And move Douluo so he's lined up with you," Qianrenhan said calmly, positioning Snake Spear toward the Tiandou Imperial Palace. Snake Spear Douluo did as he was told, dragging Douluo into position. Qianrenhan's right hand trembled slightly. Pure, dark red murderous intent gathered, enveloping his entire hand in a dark aura. Under meticulous spirit power control, not a single ripple of energy leaked. Slowly, the tip of a giant sword began to materialize. A minute later, outside the hotel, Xiao Wu frowned. With the two young masters of the Spirit Hall here, he didn't want to trigger a conflict. A war between them would only benefit the Star Luo Empire, so a peaceful resolution was best. But Qianrenhan had to make the first move. "Your Highness the Crown Prince." A soldier approached, sounding displeased. The Spirit Hall young master was acting as if he was on the same level as the Crown Prince. Besides, this was Tiandou Empire territory. How dare Qianrenhan ignore the Crown Prince like that? "Hold on," Xiao Wu said, raising a hand, a hint of displeasure in his eyes. Suddenly, the area around the hotel turned dark red, and a dark red giant sword shot out. Terrifying murderous intent erupted, sending fear through everyone's faces, and a breath of death filled their minds. The Tiandou royal knights flying closest to the hotel broke into cold sweats, their bodies trembling as they fell from the sky. The blood-red giant sword disappeared into the distance like a shooting star, and the soldiers outside the hotel finally snapped out of their stupor. "Your Highness, that's..." the soldier said, trembling. He'd seen battle, mountains of corpses, seas of blood, but facing that giant sword, his legs had felt like jelly. That direction, the Tiandou Imperial Palace. "Father." Xiao Wu realized. "If you don't want your father to die, do as I say," Qianrenhan's cold voice echoed. Xiao Wu said coldly, "What do you want? You really aren't afraid our Tiandou Empire will go to war with your Spirit Hall?" Qianrenhan's tone dripped with disdain. "Just wait here quietly for news. Don't interfere in what doesn't concern you." Xiao Wu frowned, on the verge of exploding, but he had to listen to Qianrenhan and await news from Emperor Shui. If Emperor Shui was harmed, he would act immediately, fighting to the death if necessary. Inside the palace, Emperor Shui was attending to affairs, while Fengzhi sat nearby, anxiously awaiting news. He wouldn't relax until he received confirmation that Sword and Bone Douluo had been rescued. Suddenly, a dark red weapon, 3 meters long and half a meter wide, crashed through the palace roof and landed on the ground, unleashing a wave of terrifying and violent murderous aura. "Your Majesty! Your Majesty!" 2 Tiandou Empire Spirit Douluo priests guarding Shui rushed forward, 8 spirit rings, 2 yellow, 3 purple, 3 black, appearing beneath their feet. The dark red giant sword trembled slightly, unleashing 2 astonishing blades of murderous intent. Seemingly guided, the blades instantly severed the heads of the 2 contras. Not a single drop of blood was shed. the blood that should have spurted out from the severed necks was frozen solid by the overwhelming murderous aura. Ah ah ah, Shui screamed. He was a pampered emperor who had never seen battle. He couldn't withstand the murderous and deathly aura. His body shook, and he felt his pants grow wet. That murderous aura. Qianrenhan. Ning Fengzhi stood up fiercely, positioning himself in front of Emperor Shui. Master Ning. 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 Shui grabbed Ning Fengzhi's arm, his face contorted with fear. The two imperial ministers had been stunned by a mere glance, let alone him. The more powerful someone is, the greater their fear of death. This was Shui, the murderous intent blotted out the light, and the palace turned completely dark red. The cold wind howled, filling the air with terror and death. Chapter 74. The plot is about to begin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The terrifying vibe didn't last. The dark red giant sword dissolved into 12 streaks of pure killing intent, which then coalesced into 12 huge characters. I'm giving you one more chance to decide. A minute later, the characters vanished, and the palace returned to normal, though the temperature had plummeted. Where the giant sword had struck, all that remained were 2 blood-soaked smears of skin, bones, and torn limbs. Judging by their size, those arms and legs belonged to someone huge. Back at the hotel, a deep gash from a sword cut through the wall behind where Qianrenhan had been sitting. The wall was also splattered red with blood. Douluo had taken the brunt of Qianrenhan's attack, losing his right arm and right leg. A sole bone popped out and clattered to the ground as he bled profusely. Douluo, seeing his old friend's mangled state and hearing his cries of agony, finally snapped to attention. He crawled toward Douluo like a caterpillar. Bones, snake spear. Douluo shook his head. Ning Fengzhi, you should have just paid up. Now look at this mess. His limbs are gone, he lost a sole bone, and his cultivation's taken a nosedive. Douluo's already pushing it for his age, and now he's got injuries like these. Uncle Bones, this is all my fault. Ning Fengzhi's eyes were bloodshot. After all these years together, he knew immediately those mangled limbs belonged to Douluo. Qianrenhan had deliberately crippled Douluo as a warning, stop playing games and get the money. Emperor Shui, having regained his composure, sat back down, though his legs still trembled. He looked at the grief-stricken Ning Fengzhi and said flatly, Sect Master Ning, I can't help you with this. His eyes burned with anger. A majestic emperor, threatened like a common thug. If he weren't in mortal danger, he'd ignore the threat from Spirit Hall and throw Qianrenhan into the dungeons for a taste of the Empire's finest torture. At the same time, Shui's gaze hardened as he looked at Ning Fengzhi. If Ning Fengzhi hadn't butted in and provoked Qianrenhan, none of this would have happened. The Empire wouldn't have lost 2 precious title Douluo for nothing. Ning Fengzhi nodded stiffly. I understand, Your Majesty. If you could just have someone escort me back to the sect. Though still furious, Shui wasn't petty. He ordered soldiers to take Ning Fengzhi back and sent word for Shui Luochuan to pull his troops back to camp. 3 days later, Ning Fengzhi, looking like he'd aged decades with his gray beard, disheveled hair, and dark circles, arrived at the hotel escorted by 2 contras. Right on time. You brought the ransom. Qianrenhan drawled, leaning back on the sofa with a glass of red wine in his hand. Ning Fengzhi produced 4 purple gold cards. The 7 treasure glazed tile school's working capital was only a few 100 million gold soul coins. Most of their wealth was tied up in property. To raise 2 billion in 3 days, he'd had to liquidate everything he could, mortgage property to the Tiandou Empire, the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan, and the Clear Sky School, borrow from other families, and even take out bank loans. Sword and Bone Douluo were too important to the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Their position as one of the top sects in the world depended on them. Ning Fengzhi couldn't risk trying to pay in installments. These 4 cards contain over 2 billion gold soul coins. Here's the secret to split mind control. Where are Sword and Bone Douluo? Qianrenhan waved his hand, tossing the cards to Snake Spear Douluo to verify. He watched without blinking, then pointed to a room. Ning Fengzhi rushed inside and saw Douluo, barely alive. The two old men hadn't had a drop of water in 3 days, their faces pale and lips cracked. "Uncle Sword, Uncle Bone!" he cried out. Two terrifying bursts of soul power erupted. Sword Douluo and Gu Rong regained their mobility. Sword Douluo and Ning Fengzhi helped Gu Rong stand. 3 days had passed since he'd lost his limbs. Even if they summoned the 9-hearted blood soul Tang physician, their hands and feet were connected, and it is impossible to be as flexible as before. Even if the doctor treats her, her hands and feet are connected, and it is impossible to be as flexible as before, but their Qibao glazed sect is always targeting Jiuxin Haitang, the Yi family's competitor. Are they likely to come to help Gu Rong treat her? Back at the hotel, Qianrenhan left after confirming the cards held the full 2 billion. He wasn't interested in sticking around to deal with Ning Fengzhi, who would be lashing out and blaming everyone. 3 days later, Qianrenhan and his group arrived at the Star Do Great Forest. Dusk was settling as they reached the area where 10,000-year soul beasts roamed. The forest was far more dangerous at night. Normally, soul hunting teams would spread medicine, build fires, eat, and sleep. But Qianrenhan and his group were different. They kept searching. Qianrenhan turned to Qianrenxue. "How's the fire attribute of your angel martial soul since you absorbed the 10-headed fiery serpent's inner core?" "I feel stronger, brother," Qianrenxue replied, her hand glowing with a burning golden light. Qianrenhan examined her angel soul power. The sacred and fire attributes were approaching the 8-winged realm. Once the light attribute evolved, her angel soul would reach its full potential. "For your 7th soul ring, we'll find a light attribute soul beast. I'll help you." 5 pairs of jet black wings spread from Qianrenhan's back as he summoned his fallen angel martial soul. He closed his eyes and let his dark soul power radiate outward. Darkness and light are opposites, giving Qianrenhan a keen sense for light attribute soul beasts. Suddenly, 1,000 meters away, the ground trembled. A massive black shape, nearly 10 meters tall, hurtled toward the edge of the forest, radiating a terrifying aura. "That's the Titan giant ape, the king of the forest." "Snake spear Douluo exclaimed. Porcupine Douluo frowned. "Why is it running toward the edge of the forest?" "Just an ape." "Don't worry about it," Qianrenhan said, opening his eyes slightly. He seemed to realize something and chuckled. "Looks like Tang-san, the main character, is here. Just like Bibi Dong, he can't take your attached soul bone, so he would use yours instead, and then kill you, as long as the soul bone he finds doesn't have the light or sacred flame attribute." Qianrenhan didn't need to care about whether it matched the fallen angel martial soul. Moments later, Qianrenhan sensed an incredibly pure, powerful, and vibrant soul beast with light attributes. His eyes lit up. "Follow me." Qianrenxue, with her 6-winged seraph martial soul, along with Snake Spear and Porcupine Douluo, followed Qianrenhan. They plunged into the forest and soon arrived at their destination, a bizarre landscape of steep cliffs. The cliffs weren't particularly thick, and their width was consistent from top to bottom. Green plants grew on the rock faces, along with rare elixirs and herbs. The scene was incredibly beautiful and natural, easily the most stunning scenery Qianrenhan had ever seen. If the ice and fire yin-yang well were ranked first, this would definitely be a close second. Chapter 75 400,000-Year Soul Beasts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dark angel feathers drifted across the area, swirling towards a hole pulsating with life. Moments later, butterflies emerged, each radiating a soft, luminous energy. A pair of vibrant blue butterfly wings snapped open. The colors at the edges of the forewings shimmered through shades of dark blue, azure, and light blue. The wings themselves looked like strings of dazzling lights embedded in the sky, forming a V shape that seemed to bring light to the world. Their shape and color were simply breathtaking, unparalleled in their beauty. The entire wing surface resembled white waves crashing on a blue sea, a spectacular pattern of purple-blue. They were like a blue sky dotted with shimmering halos, shifting between deep blue, azure, and light blue, with white, intricate markings like inlaid jewels, sparkling with captivating charm. A smirk played on Qianrenhan's lips. No wonder there's such a strong aura of light. It's a god-level soul beast, the light goddess butterfly. If the seraphim is a top-tier god-level martial soul, then the light goddess butterfly is a close second. For enhancing the light attributes of a seraphim, this soul beast's soul ring is the ultimate prize. Among the light goddess butterfly flock, a massive, magnificent butterfly stood out, measuring a full 8 meters in both length and wingspan. Qianrenhan reached out, his soul power coalescing into a massive dark palm. He seized the light goddess butterfly matriarch and lifted her, declaring, "I know you understand me. Sacrifice yourself, or I'll annihilate your entire clan. Choose one." As a god-level soul beast, the light goddess butterfly possessed exceptional intelligence, perhaps not quite on par with freakish creatures like the dark demon evil god tiger, but certainly surpassing the intelligence of the 80,000-year blue-silver king, comparable to humans. Qianrenhan had no intention of slaughtering the entire light goddess butterfly clan just for a soul ring. While he felt no empathy for soul beasts, he understood the importance of sustainability. He simply needed the matriarch to sacrifice herself. He hoped to maximize the essence of her cultivation. "Human, your soul ring slots are already full. Why do you still crave my soul ring? Besides, my soul ring is completely incompatible with your martial soul," the light goddess butterfly communicated telepathically, her voice beautiful yet laced with anger. Her mental voice would likely sound similar if she broke through 100,000 years. "Brother," another sweet voice called out as Qianrenxue rushed forward, radiating the aura of her four-winged seraphim martial soul. "Choose, sacrifice, or annihilation," Qianrenhan reiterated, unhurriedly. The bright goddess butterfly should have understood after seeing Qianrenxue's seraph martial soul. He extended his hand again, using his dark soul power to imprison a group of younger bright goddess butterflies, only decades or a few centuries old. "Human, I will sacrifice myself. I only ask that you spare my tribe," the light goddess butterfly pleaded, her voice tinged with despair and resignation. She was no match for Qianrenhan's strength, especially with two titled Douluos present. Compliance was the only way to preserve her clan. Qianrenhan released the butterflies, saying, "Then prepare for your sacrifice. Xiao, focus your soul power and get ready. Sacrifice." Qianrenxue, Snake Spear, and Agatha were taken aback. "Young master, this is an 80,000-year soul ring. Can young master handle such a high-level soul ring?" Snake Spear couldn't help but ask. Soul saints usually only had a seventh soul ring of around 40,000 to 50,000 years, not 80,000 years. "If I can't handle it, what was the point of eating the immortal herb, absorbing the angel soul bones, and consuming the 10-headed fierce sun snake's inner elixir?" Qianrenhan replied casually. He didn't have any soul bones on him, but it took him 3 months to absorb the seventh ring granted by the gods that was 100,000 years old. His body almost exploded. Qianrenxue had 299,999-year-old angel soul bones. In addition, the inner elixir of the 10-headed blazing sun snake has been tempered by the flames and cannot survive the 80,000 years of soul ring sacrifice. How can the martial soul evolve and become stronger? "Brother, I'm ready," Qianrenxue said seriously. The six-winged seraphim martial soul behind her glowed brilliantly, and she used her soul saint-level soul power to activate her martial soul's true form, merging with it to unleash her maximum physical strength. A satisfied smile touched Qianrenhan's lips as he turned his gaze to the light goddess butterfly. Without hesitation, the light goddess butterfly acted to ensure the survival of her clan. An intense wave of energy erupted from her, and a dark pillar of light shot upwards. Beside the light pillar, an ethereal, translucent image of the light goddess butterfly spiraled skyward. "Oh, a soul sacrifice." Qianrenhan watched the transparent butterfly, slightly surprised. It seemed that this light goddess butterfly was afraid that the energy of the sacrifice would explode Qianrenxue's body. He furiously destroyed the light goddess butterfly clan and chose the safest option. The method of sacrifice is indeed a perfect clan leader. Turn around. Protect Xiaoxue. I need to take care of something, Qianrenhan instructed. The immense energy of the sacrifice could potentially damage Qianrenxue's clothing. Snake Spear and Agatha trembled and immediately averted their gaze, not daring to even flicker their eyes or mental power. If the first elder, the grand priest, or the 6 elders ever found out, death would be a mercy, trust, but verify. Qianrenhan never fully trusted anyone, not even his relatives, Douluo and Qianrenxue. He only trusted himself. Qianrenhan flapped his wings, and the dark angel feathers swirled and linked together, forming a black barrier that shielded Qianrenxue. The dark soul power blocked Snake Spear and the Abyssinian Douluo's ability to see the situation. Qianrenhan returned to the location where he had initially released his soul power to locate the light attribute soul beast, following the Titan Ape's trail in search of Tang San. 100,000-year soul ring and soul bone were valuable, but to Qianrenhan, they were far less important than the external soul bone that could grow with him and become a divine artifact, or even a superdivine artifact. Meanwhile, at the Lake of Life in the Star Doe Forest, the Titan giant ape returned with Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu, that a warm, excited voice rang out. The speaker was a woman with her hair in a bun, dressed in simple yet elegant and practical clothing. Tall and curvaceous, she possessed a beautiful face and jade-like skin. This was Xiao Wu's mother, Ro, 100,000-year soul beast, the Rabbit King, in human form. Mom, I missed you so much. Xiao Wu rushed into Ro's embrace. You missed me, huh? I think you were too busy gallivanting around. A soul beast that transformed into a human, and you're only at level 30, Ro scolded playfully, tapping Xiao Wu on the forehead. Sister Xiao Wu, another eager voice echoed as the water in the Lake of Life splashed. A massive bull's head emerged, followed by a serpent body hundreds of meters long, the azure bull python, Titan giant ape, Ro, and Xiao Wu were the 400,000-year soul beasts who resided in the Lake of Life. Chapter 76 Tang San, the Wealth-Giving Boy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After swapping stories about the good old days, Ro watched Xiao Wu, who couldn't sit still and kept glancing around. She chuckled and said, Xiao Wu, finish absorbing your 3rd soul ring, then go find your 3rd brother. Your mom's got no problem with you being with him. Xiao Wu blushed. Mom, you know everything. You think your mom hasn't been sneaking out of the Star Doe Forest to check on you these past 6 years? Ro ruffled Xiao Wu's hair, her eyes full of affection. Over those years, Ro would slip out of the forest every few months to visit Xiao Wu at Notting College. Naturally, she'd run into Tang San's father, Tang Hao. They even fought at first, but then she learned about Tang San's mother and was deeply touched by the love story between Tang Hao and Yin. After watching them for years, she finally felt at ease with Tang Hao and his son, Tang San. Behind Ro, the azure bull python and the Titan giant ape, upon hearing that Xiao Wu was in love with someone named Tang San, felt a pang of jealousy. But seeing Xiao Wu's shy and happy expression, they pushed aside their own feelings and wished her well. If you love someone, no matter what they decide, I'll always support them, quietly protect them, and do everything I can to help them, even if they don't belong to me. That was the most sincere and selfless love that Deming and Erming had for Xiao Wu. Mom, I've got my soul ring. Xiao Wu sat down, cross-legged. A pink light enveloped her, the beams joining together to form a soul ring. A transformed soul beast condensing a soul ring looked almost exactly like crushing a god-given soul ring to obtain one. On the edge of the star forest, in a thicket, an unremarkable man sat cross-legged. Beside him lay a man-faced demon spider, its legs over 10 feet long, with a cultivation level exceeding 2,000 years. 6 others guarded the man, 1 middle-aged and the other 5 young men and women. These 6 were Zhao Wuji, Dai Mubai, Zhu Zhuqing, Oscar, Ning Rongrong, and Ma Hongjun. The one absorbing the soul ring was Tang San. Finally, the small drops of blood stopped oozing, and Tang San's frown eased. A faint blue light began to radiate from his body. Xiao Wuji exclaimed, "He did it. The worst is over. Now it's just the transformation of soul power. That kid Tang San really is a miracle worker." Ah! Just when everyone thought it was over, Tang San's relaxed face suddenly contorted, and he screamed. He spasmed violently, his chest heaving, his whole upper body arching back in a terrifying way. Suddenly, his clothes ripped apart. Oscar, standing behind him, saw 4 bumps the size of fists on either side of Tang San's spine. Then, the 8 bumps burst open. Strangely, the skin didn't roll back. 8 fist-thick, dark purple objects emerged from the bumps, growing at an alarming rate. "What the heck is that?" The 6 were completely bewildered. A cold voice cut through the air. "Externally attached soul bones, still highly poisonous, and devouring externally attached soul bones. How rare, and suitable for me." Qianrenhan materialized out of nowhere, standing before the Shrek 5 and Xiao Wuji. "Who are you?" Xiao Wuji frowned. The man had bypassed his senses, appearing out of thin air. He couldn't be young, yet he looked it. Was he a hidden master? "I want that attached soul bone. Unless you want to die, get out of my way," Qianrenhan said coolly, glancing at Xiao Wuji. "What an arrogant punk. Even back in my day, Xiao Wuji wasn't this cocky." Xiao Wuji scoffed. 7 soul rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple, 3 black, appeared beneath his feet, and his second ring lit up. "No matter who you are, you're not touching my student, Xiao Wuji." Second soul skill, the mighty Vajra palm. Xiao Wuji put 6 points of strength into his attack, not wanting to kill Qianrenhan outright. He still suspected there were other strong people hiding nearby. He wanted to leave an out. If worse came to worst, he could invoke the names of Haotian Douluo and the 7 treasure-glazed sect to protect himself and his students. Blood splattered, and a thick arm flew into the air. Black soul power surged in Qianrenhan's hand as he sliced off Xiao Wuji's arm with a palm strike. "Ah! Teacher Xiao! X5." Xiao Wuji screamed. The Shrek 5, save for Oscar and Ma Hongjun, who felt his stomach churn, were stunned. It was the first time they'd seen something so gruesome, so bloody, especially when they felt death closing in again. After severing Xiao Wuji's arm, Qianrenhan struck with a palm, sending Xiao Wuji flying through trees, his fate unknown. The Shrek students were terrified, barely daring to breathe. Xiao Wuji, the Titan giant ape, had been defeated in a second by the man before them. This white-haired guy had to be stronger than the ape. Qianrenhan ignored the Shrek 5 and walked toward Tang San. He wouldn't even bother looking at the little ants, the oldest of whom was barely 15, as for taking them on. Oscar's talent was enough to make him a slave of the spirit hall. Subordinates? The generous ones were those who remembered the spirit hall when receiving their soul master subsidies. The rest, who ignored the spirit hall, weren't worth it, but after killing Tang San, an uncle with a mental age of 41, there was no need to care. Just then, a beautiful girl with smooth skin, long brown hair, a blue dress, and a pair of A's stepped in front of Qianrenhan. Naturally, it was Ning Rongrong, the meddlesome and not-so-bright beauty. "Hello, senior, I'm Ning Rongrong, young master of the 7 treasure-glazed sect. My classmate risked his life to hold off a spirit beast to buy us time to escape. I hope you'll spare him for the sake of the 7 treasure-glazed sect." Ning Rongrong summoned her 7 treasure-glazed pagoda martial spirit, 2 bright yellow soul rings circling it. Qianrenhan nearly laughed. A slight grin played on his lips. "Little girl, you'll pay the price for sticking your nose where it doesn't belong." Ning Rongrong's face fell. "Senior, please, just this once. The 7 treasure-glazed sect will be forever in your debt. One last time, get out of here." "I'm not repeating myself." Qianrenhan's patience only extended so far, and the only exception was the underage Qianrenxue. "Senior, I know you're strong, but I'm the daughter of the leader of the 7 treasure-glazed sect, and my two grandfathers are the famous sword and bone Douluos. They dote on me. If they find out about this. Ning Rongrong's lips curved in a teasing smile, smack, star. Ah, a resounding slap echoed as Qianrenhan sent Ning Rongrong flying. She tumbled 4 or 5 yards, rolling on the ground and wailing. It sounded pitiful, but the assaulter was excited, a red mark stood out on her fair face. Her blue dress was torn by the tree branches, exposing her skin. Chapter 77, Sending a Soul Ring thousands of miles away, Xiao Wu cheats the whole family to death. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ning Rongrong, sprawled on the ground with a bright red handprint on her face, screamed, "How dare you hit me? I'm from the 7 Treasures Glazed Sect, smack, star." Ow, Qianrenhan, not about to listen to her whining, backhanded her again, this time way harder. The other side of her face instantly puffed up like a balloon, and the force of the blow sent her sprawling in a clumsy somersault. Rongrong, Oscar, ever the opportunist, leaped forward and caught her mid-air, cushioning her fall with his own body, and getting a little closer in the process. The guy had serious game. Qianrenhan couldn't help but raise an eyebrow in grudging admiration. He looked at Ning Rongrong, whose face was a swollen mess. She could barely choke out a sob as she glared at him through bloodshot eyes. Go ask your daddy, Qianrenhan said coolly. Would Ning Fengzhi and those 2 losers, Sword and Bone Douluo, have the nerve to talk to me like that? The Ning family's sticking their noses where they don't belong. Qianrenhan's gaze flicked over the 5 Shrek members, a hint of lethal intent flashing in his eyes. Those 5 trembled, every muscle locked, afraid to even breathe as they met Qianrenhan's blood-red stare. In that single moment, Qianrenhan planted a seed of fear deep inside the Shrek 5. It was a casual act, and he had no idea how much it would pay off 2 years later. Meanwhile, at the Lake of Life in the Star Dou Forest, 2 yellow rings, 1 purple one surrounded Xiao Wu's feet. As the soul rings melded into her body, her chest, which had been flat until now, pushed out slightly, and her pert buttocks became more pronounced. She looked at least a couple of years older. Xiao Wu stood up, beaming. Mom, I did it. The teleportation skill is the perfect soul skill for us soft-bone rabbits. Just then, Ming rumbled, Xiao Wu, I smell blood. It's that bear who thinks he can challenge me. As an orangutan, Titan's sense of smell was legendary. He'd known Xiao Wu was back in the Star Dou Forest from the moment he caught her scent. Oh no! Teacher Zhao is in danger, and so is third brother. Xiao Wu yelped, leaping onto the shoulders of the Titan giant ape. Ming, hurry. We have to save third brother. He means everything to me. Nothing can happen to him. Hearing the words means everything. Ming's jealousy flared up again. But, determined to keep Xiao Wu from being sad, he charged off at top speed, hurtling across the forest in leaps and bounds. The Titan giant ape, the apparent guardian of the Star Dou Great Forest, moved at a mind-boggling pace. In no time, he'd bounded from the core to the inner perimeter, and then right out to the outer edges. On the edge of the forest, Tang San hung suspended in the air, impaled by the 8 spider spears. Still unconscious, Tang San suddenly felt a monstrous force slam into his shoulders. The bones shattered, countless others throughout his body splintered as he crashed to the earth in a burst of blood. The one responsible, of course, was Qianrenhan. Arg! Tang San howled. Qianrenhan's foot crushed Tang San's shoulder, pulverizing not just the bone but also all 8 spider spears. The 8 spider spears would regenerate automatically, drawing on the energy within the soul-sucking master's body. But Qianrenhan's energy was far purer than Tang San's, and the new spears that grew would be harder. Tang San would have to endure the pain of his bones being torn apart. I want your 8 spider spears. Qianrenhan said calmly, and as the Shrek member stared in horror, his left hand became like a claw, plunging into Tang San's back. He wrenched it out, and there in his grasp was a bloody soul bone the size of his palm. Tang San's 8 spider spear soul bone, which had only recently emerged and wasn't even fully integrated, was ripped free by Qianrenhan. Aawa! The agony jolted Tang San awake, and he let out a scream like a wounded animal, followed by a fit of foaming at the mouth. "Thanks for the soul bone," Qianrenhan said, casually stowing it in his storage soul guide. "Why are you doing this to me?" Tang San rasped, using his last ounce of strength to turn his head toward Qianrenhan's unfamiliar face. He was certain he'd never seen this guy before, let alone done anything to offend him. "Do I really need a reason to take something that belongs to neither human nor beast, a hybrid that defies both the soul-beast clan and the human race?" Qianrenhan's right hand shifted into a claw shape, ready to end Tang San's life. Just then, a massive shadow fell from the sky, unleashing a hurricane. Trees were ripped to shreds, and the 5 Shrek monsters were flung backward. The Titan ape had arrived. Xiao Wu, perched on the Titan ape's shoulders, caught the scent of Tang San's blood. She saw the terrible state he was in, and her eyes flooded with tears. "Ming, kill him!" she roared. "Tear the one who hurt third brother into a million pieces." Hearing the rage in Xiao Wu's voice, the Titan giant ape roared and swatted at Qianrenhan, eager to unleash all the jealousy that had festered in his heart. Qianrenhan leaped aside, dodging the Titan ape's swipe. The Titan ape scooped up Tang San and gently set him aside. Xiao Wu jumped down from the ape's shoulders and knelt beside Tang San, her gaze fixed on his bloodied back, her eyes filled with tears and fury. Xiao Wu shrieked, Ming, kill him." The Titan ape pounded his fists on his chest, roared, and threw a punch. "Interesting. Fine, I wasn't planning to hunt you down, but you dared to come to me for Tang San. You really are the gift that keeps on giving." Qianrenhan's left hand glowed with scarlet light, and a 3-foot-long blood sword materialized. "It's only fitting to use you as the first soul ring for the Azura sword." The purest murderous intent converged. Qianrenhan gripped the Azura sword. The terrifying bloodlust seemed to coalesce into a suit of crimson armor, and then a 100-meter blade of scarlet energy slashed forth. The Titan ape felt the cold hand of death grip his soul. There wasn't time to pull back his fist or charge up the Titan sky cannon. His granite-like fist collided with the blood-red sword energy. There was no world-shattering explosion. The blood-red energy cleanly severed the Titan ape's arm like slicing through watermelon. Half the arm crashed to the ground, causing violent tremors, and the Titan ape howled in pain. Ming! Xiao Wu screamed, her pupils shrinking to pinpricks. Back at the Lake of Life, the azure bull python burst out of the water. Ro asked, Ming, what's wrong? Daming said grimly, Aunt Ro, Ming's aura has weakened. It's like he's been badly wounded. Did Ming run into a powerful human titled Douluo? 2 yellow rings, 2 purple ones, 5 black ones, and 9 were surging from Ro. She jumped on the head of the azure bull python and said, Ming, we have to save Ming and Xiao Wu. Chapter 78 One Pot. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ming scooped up Ro and bolted toward the edge of the Star Doe forest, moving faster than even the Titan giant ape could. Wherever he went, the ground was stripped bare and trees crumbled to dust. Ming. Xiao Wu watched, horrified, as half of his right arm was sliced off. The usually arrogant Titan ape, who'd been so eager to avenge Tang San and tear Qianrenhan to pieces, now spoke in a trembling voice. Sister Xiao Wu, get that kid out of here, now. The Titan ape's wound was massive, and crimson sword energy pulsed within, preventing it from closing. The blade's energy kept eating away at him. Even without a soul ring, the Azura demon sword was a divine weapon forged by the power of the Azura god. It was a true god-king level martial spirit, and its sheer killing intent was enough to take down a Titan ape. Titan gravity field. A wave of earth yellow light blasted out from the Titan ape, engulfing Qianrenhan. The gravity field, the Titan ape's innate talent, could amplify gravity up to 10-fold. Based on the 100,000-year-old soul bone technique, gravity quagmire. He could freely control the field's range. Just 10 times gravity. Qianrenhan sneered, raising the Azura sword once more. He ripped through the surrounding trees and even the field itself with violent, murderous intent. Just then, another layer of light blue field descended. Qianrenhan's movements slowed, and a massive bull's head materialized. It was half the size of the Titan ape, its eyes like enormous blue lanterns. Second brother, your arm. The azure bull python and Ro cried out in shock and anger. Aunt Ro, big brother. The Titan ape exclaimed, surprised. Mom, Daming. Xiao Wu shouted, equally shocked. Kill him. Kill that guy. He hurt third brother and heir Ming. That the instant Xiao Wu finished, a scarlet field erupted. The terrifying sword energy easily shattered the combined fields of the Titan giant ape and azure bull python. Inside the scarlet field, Qianrenhan's eyes glowed red. The murderous aura behind him seemed to coalesce into a three-headed, six-armed giant. Well, the money-giving kid delivers again. 2 more 100,000-year soul beasts. Not bad at all. Qianrenhan's eyes gleamed. Was Tang-san his lucky charm? At their first meeting, he'd gifted him the 8 spider lances of soul bones, and now he was handing over 400,000-year soul beasts. That power. Daming, get Xiao Wu out of here, now. Ro was stunned for a moment, then yelled, women may be naturally weak, but mothers are strong. Ro was ready to fight to the death to ensure Xiao Wu's survival. The Titan giant ape and azure bull python felt the same. They would fight for the survival of their beloved sister Xiao Wu. The azure bull python exhaled a stream of icy air, creating a thin layer of ice beneath Tang-san and Xiao Wu. The two were then hoisted onto the ice, and with a powerful swing of the Titan ape's remaining arm, the ice bed soared out of the Star Doe forest like a glider. Big brother. Young master. Not just then, Snake Spear, Agouti, and Qianrenxue arrived. Qianrenxue had already absorbed the soul ring of the light goddess butterfly, bringing her cultivation to level 74. A tear had appeared on one of the 6-winged blazing angels' back, and something seemed to be growing there. Qianrenhan knew it was a sign of the martial spirit evolving. 80,000 years of light goddess butterfly nutrition wasn't enough. Qianrenxue only needed to absorb one more light-attributed soul ring for her martial spirit to truly evolve. Furthermore, the wings of the 6-winged seraph spirit behind Qianrenxue were no longer a simple snow white. They were edged with intricate blue patterns, like blue gems inlaid in the white snow. Externally attached soul bones. The light goddess butterfly sacrificed herself and revealed externally attached soul bones. Was this light goddess butterfly clan leader too qualified, or did she just resent me too much? Qianrenhan couldn't help but murmur. He knew how to torture a soul beast. The stronger the soul beast's resentment, the higher the chance of a soul bone dropping. Young master, that's 100,000-year transformed soul beast. Snake Spear watched Tang-san and Xiao Wu escape. With the mental power of a tidal Douluo, he could sense the spirit beast aura on Xiao Wu's body. Don't even think about touching Xiao Wu. Ro flew up, positioning herself between Snake Spear, Agouti, and Qianrenxue. A transformed soul beast who has cultivated to the level of a tidal Douluo. The others were astonished. It was rare to see a transformed soul beast, but even rarer for one to reach the level of a tidal Douluo. Qianrenhan said dismissively, let it go. The money-giving kid will send it back, and maybe he'll bring me some bigger gifts. Snake Spear was slightly puzzled, but the Aro they had to deal with now was actually a level 95 tidal Douluo. Brother, your martial spirit. Qianrenxue's eyes widened. She wondered when her brother had acquired a twin martial spirit, the bloody sword in Qianrenhan's hand. I'll explain later. You two, the elders Snake Spear and Agouti, will capture the transformed soft bone rabbit together. I'll handle these 200,000-year soul beasts, Qianrenhan said calmly. He had no intention of attaching the soft bone rabbit's soul ring to the Azura sword. It would be a waste, and the soul ring's quality was too low. Angel Realm. Qianrenxue immediately activated the angel domain, suppressing Aro's combat power by 20% and purifying her soul power. 2 golden streams of light poured into Snake Spear and Agouti, boosting their combat power by 10%. Then, Qianrenxue, wielding the sacred sword, and snake spear and agouti besieged a row. Qianrenxue, having absorbed the seventh soul ring, had also reached the level of a titled Douluo. 3 titled Douluo level experts besieged her, a level 94 agouti Douluo, a level 93 snake spear Douluo, and Qianrenxue, who was no weaker than either of them. Ro was quickly beaten, blood spurting from her mouth. Ant Ro. X2. The Titan giant ape and azure bull python roared. You should be worrying about yourselves. Qianrenhan's cold voice cut through the air. The terrifying murderous aura sent shivers through the Titan giant ape and azure bull python. Within the scarlet field, a violent murderous intent surged. Behind Qianrenhan, the murderous intent coalesced into 6 blood-red giant swords, each 10 meters long and 3 meters wide, held by the 3-headed, 6-armed blood-red giant behind him. Azura swordsmanship, sanction. The Azura sword in Qianrenhan's hand pointed at the azure bull python and the Titan giant ape. The blood-red giant raised its head, and 6 blinding sword lights flashed. 6 blood-red sword energies slashed out simultaneously, crushing everything like a bulldozer. All flowers, plants, and trees in the area were leveled. Titan sky breaks. Azure Nirvana thunder. The Titan ape raised its fist in fury. The air twisted and warped, mixed with vegetation and sand and gravel, gathered and compressed, finally forming a terrifying energy bomb that slammed into the 6 blood-red sword energies. A bolt of lightning erupted from the azure bull python's mouth. The lightning coalesced into sharp arrows and shot forward alongside the air cannon. Tear. The sickening sound of flesh being ripped apart echoed as the 6 blood-red sword energies sliced through the attacks of the Titan giant ape and azure bull python, turning the 200,000-year soul beasts into a pile of bloody minced meat. Chapter 79 Emperor Tian's Attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 2 massive bodies crashed to the earth, and instantly, 200,000-year spirit rings blazed into existence, bathing the dim forest in a blood-red light with terrifying energy. De Ming. Ming. Ah Ro screamed, a mix of sorrow and rage in her voice, seizing his chance. Snake spear Douluo struck, his spear crackling with golden lightning as it pierced Ah Ro's abdomen. She coughed up blood, pinned to the ground. I'm not interested in the soul ring of this 100,000-year soft-bone rabbit, Qianrenhan said casually. Let's seal her powers and take her back to Spirit Hall. We'll raise her there. He didn't consider mature transformed soul beasts as people. You can explode soul rings and soul bones and you still have the nerve to say that you are a human. Mature transformed soul beasts and titled Douluo can't tell that. Gods are the same. He saw them as a more sophisticated deception. Snake Spear hesitated, then quickly moved to suppress Ah Ro's power, preventing her from self-destructing. You risked the lives of 3 of your 100,000-year soul beasts, all for this useless rabbit, Qianrenhan said, looking at her. Soft-bone rabbit emperor, I admire you as a mother, but you'll soon realize how foolish your actions were. He watched as Ah Ro's gaze flickered toward the direction Xiao Wu had fled. Maybe it was comparing Ah Ro with Bibi Dong's actions that made him speak too much unconsciously. Snapping back to attention, Ah Ro glared at Qianrenhan. Humans. Sooner or later, your actions will enrage the true master of the Star Do Forest, and you'll face a catastrophe. Qianrenhan ignored her. Elders, protect me. He turned to the 2 glowing 100,000-year soul rings, sat down, and without hesitation, began to absorb them, drawing their energy into his Shura sword martial spirit. He closed his eyes, focusing. The raw power of the soul rings surged into him, along with the chilling resentment of the azure bull python and the Titan giant ape. In Qianrenhan's mind, that combined resentment crashed against his spiritual defenses. Human. You're arrogant enough to absorb our soul rings together. Fine. We'll shatter your mind and destroy you, for the sake of the Soul Beast clan and for Xiao Wu's future. The Titan giant ape and azure bull python roared, tearing through his consciousness. Inside his mindscape, Qianrenhan chuckled at the Shura sword. These 2 beasts seem to underestimate you. Care to set them straight? As a God King level martial spirit, the Shura sword possessed its own consciousness. It vibrated in response. Even as just a fragment of the super-artifact Shura demon sword, it was far beyond what the two beasts could handle. The Shura demonic sword erupted in blinding light. Pure Shura divine power poured from the blade, turning the dark sea of consciousness a blood red. An 80-meter-tall, 30-meter-wide image of the demonic sword descended, a force that crushed the resentment of the Titan giant ape and azure bull python without effort. With their animosity gone, absorbing the soul rings became as easy as absorbing the first four for an ordinary soul master. Soon, a vast wave of soul power rolled outwards. Qianrenhan's level soared from 93 to 96. The divine martial soul realization from level 95 to level 96 was almost nothing to him, because he relied on his own understanding to evolve the fallen angel's martial soul from 8 wings to 10 wings. So, this is the strength of a level 96 Super Douluo. How far have I come? Since his return, the strongest opponent Qianrenhan has played since his return is level 96 BB Dong. Now if he wants to test his strength, it is best to go to the old man. After all, the Shura Qi test is against Tang Chen, and Tang Chen is against Tiandou. Qianrenhan reached out, and the 100,000-year soul bones from the Titan ape and the azure bull python flew into his hand. The azure ox python exploded the head soul bone, the Titan great ape exploded the torso soul bone, and the 6 god suit the top 2 100,000-year-old soul bones have all exploded. I have to say that Qianrenhan is the European emperor, and he is extremely lucky. What parts are not good to explode, but the head and torso, and the limbs? Maybe he will also consider it. Snake Spear Guillotine stared at the soul bones, his eyes burning with greed, as did Qianrenxue, barely keeping it in check even with her angelic raiment. Deep beneath the lake of life, a silver dragon, dormant for ages, snapped open its purple eyes, now filled with murderous intent. God Shura, the aura of Shura's heir. He must die. A voice, ethereal yet venomous, echoed from a hidden dimension. A black dragon, several 100 meters long with golden eyes, approached, his voice respectful. Lord, allow me to deal with him. You're still recovering from your injuries and mustn't risk exposure to the god realm. The silver dragon considered. The successor of God Shura has the aura of God Shura. Even if it destroys the successor of God Shura will definitely find it. It is better to wait until the successor has just inherited the throne of Shura God. No one will observe it, and the foundation is not stable. Destroy him at the right time. In this way, even if a god king is destroyed, the god world will not be able to discover him. In the lake of life, the once placid surface began to churn as if boiling. The water, normally brimming with life energy, roiled and surged, creating massive waves. Dark clouds gathered, lightning flashed, thunder boomed, and a colossal vortex formed in the lake, spinning into a towering water spout. The entire Tiandou forest trembled. Birds and beasts scattered in panic, and countless soul beasts, overwhelmed by a terrifying bloodline suppression, knelt to the ground, acknowledging their king. Qianrenhan and the others instantly looked toward the lake of life at the heart of the forest. He's here. He's here. The king. Lord Beast God Tian. Ah Ro cried out in alarm. Xiao, elders, take this soft bone rabbit and get back to Spirit Hall. Now. Qianrenhan frowned. 5 pairs of dark wings erupted from his back as he manifested his fallen angel spirit. In his right hand, he gripped the Shura sword, and in his left, the dark demon sword. Activating both martial souls at once, he unleashed the dual domains of Shura and the fallen angel before the enemy even arrived, a testament to how powerful he knew Tian to be. Snake Spear Douluo spoke, his voice trembling. Young master. Staying here will only hinder me. Qianrenhan snapped. Get out of here now. You won't be going anywhere. Space ripped open, and an enormous, pitch-black dragon claw descended. The air itself crushed the vegetation to dust, and the ground buckled. Qianrenhan's domain began to warp under the sheer force. Fallen Angel Avatar. Shura Avatar, The 100-meter-tall spirit of the fallen angel rose, wielding a 60-meter-long, blood-red sword. Cut. Sensing the overwhelming force, Qianrenhan instantly unleashed the martial soul avatars of both his martial souls. Every fiber of his being focused, he unleashed his most powerful attack.